Welcome back to another episode of Juba Forensics PLC, the YouTube channel. Today I want to talk through kind of a case study for fraud. We're going to talk about fraud on Fridays. That's the goal. So today I want to talk through payroll. How can somebody take money from you in payroll fraudulently? There's a handful of schemes I'm going to talk about. Now, this is not an all-inclusive list. There are many ways people can fraudulently take money from you through your payroll system. And it's a matter of putting good controls in place to prevent that from happening. One of the best ways is to have multiple sets of eyes on what you're doing. So this way it's not one person entering in new employees, one person running all the time, one person giving out all the paychecks. You want to have multiple people involved in the process, or at least people checking behind each other, just to prevent fraud from happening. So one way that someone can steal money from you in payroll, throughout the payroll system, is they can, if someone's responsible for everything and no one ever checks behind them, they can create a fake payroll, like a fake person. They can create a fake person in the payroll software system and pay that person. They can set that person up with their own bank account information. So direct deposit runs right through there. If you print hard checks, they'll print a check to that person's name and then they can figure out how to get it into their account. So there are plenty of ways along those lines, setting up fake employees. Another way someone can steal money from you through payroll is they can write additional checks to themselves, write a bonus to themselves, pad their pay. Maybe they're supposed to make 50K a year and they decided they wanted to give themselves a raise and make 55 this year. And if you're not double checking, that's not that big of a difference. You may not notice the first year or two that happens until they keep increasing it and keep taking more bonuses, and eventually you might catch it. So they can just directly alter their own pay, and they can try to cover their tracks. There are a lot of ways people can cover their tracks in software systems. I will say it gets hard to kind of cover tracks in something like QuickBooks Online that has an audit trail for everything. It shows when you create things, when you delete things, it does show that in there. But if they make a big mess of it and create a lot of things and delete a lot of things and then lie to you and say that, oh, they didn't mean to, that was just a mistake, things like that, and you believe them, that you may not catch it. So a third way, so I'm only going to cover three. A third way that employees can steal money from you through payroll is kind of a bigger overarching scheme that I've heard of, where the person that runs payroll will maybe add $500, $200, whatever it is, $1,000, whatever they want it to be, to everybody's, maybe not everybody in the company, but a few trusted individuals. They'll pad their pay by about $500, tell the individual, you can keep it, but go take out $200 in cash from your bank account for me and then give me $200 in cash. So it's like a kickback scheme almost for the person running the scheme. They give everybody more money, so the people underneath them are all profiting, but then they get a kickback somehow as well, even if things aren't directly flowing to their bank account. That one can be harder to catch because there's harder but easier, if that makes sense, because there's many people, so the odds are someone might slip up somewhere, but they also can be a really tight-knit group where they refuse to speak up and say something when they maybe should say something. So there's lots of ways people can steal money from payroll. So to quickly review the ones that I just covered, they can create ghost employees, fake employees. They can also, those fake employees will be set up to their own bank account or in some way that they can get the money from that fake employee. They can also just straight up change and alter their own pay, whether that's adding money to their salary, adding hours that maybe they didn't actually work. They can give themselves bonuses. They can give themselves 2 checks and pretend to void one in the system, but the money's already hit their bank account and they're not giving that money back. Like, there are ways that they can alter their own pay. And then the third piece is a bigger scheme, almost like a kickback scheme, where the person running payroll pads everybody's check that's involved. And then those people take out money in cash normally and kick them back cash for giving them extra money in their paycheck. So lots of different ways. That is not an all-inclusive list. There's many other ways people can steal from you with your payroll software. So it's important not only to have multiple sets of eyes on payroll, to double check payroll, but to make sure people are set up correctly in payroll. And what I mean by correctly is if they should not have access to your payroll software, they should not have access to adding employees or editing bank accounts or whatever access they don't need. If they don't need it, don't give it to them, because that just gives more opportunity for them to go in and maybe do something that they shouldn't do. So just something to think about. Make sure access is set up correctly and multiple sets of eyes on everything. And you should be checking not only payroll totals, but you should be checking the number of employees that you have on the books, payroll totals as well. I mean, those two things alone, just checking that on a monthly basis is going to maybe prevent and catch some of this. And just knowing that someone is looking can also prevent and catch some of this as well. So, a couple of things, and I would not check, like if this is December, I would not check December versus November, because if they bumped up their salary a year ago, it's going to be the same and you're going to think everything's fine. So, what I would check, especially in the beginning, if you're brand new to checking some of these numbers, I would check this year, where you are right now this year, to where you were last year. And then go back and see who was supposed to get a raise, who got a raise. Did somebody get a bonus in there? Do we have extra employees that you don't remember hiring? Whatever it might be, that's a good way to double check to start. And then once you know that that first payroll you're looking at is good and doesn't have anything extra in it that it shouldn't have, then you can go back to it and double check as you're going forward. So just something to think about. And I hope that helps with some of the ways people can steal money from you with payroll, and maybe give you some ideas for things you can do to make sure that that doesn't happen to you.